Hey everyone, so this week I'm sharing some ways that you can change up your taco night at your house. These are not authentic tacos, these are just your basic tacos here. But I felt like we were having the same type of tacos every single week, so I want to change it up a little bit and have a little fun with it, so I hope you enjoy. Kicking this video off, I am making taco spaghetti. This is a favorite now here. My husband had never had it before and now he loves it. So I have this cheddar jack cheese. I have half of the onion that I diced. And then I have 1 pound of ground turkey. You can use ground beef, ground chicken, whatever your preference. Then I have 1 can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, sour cream, taco seasoning, minced garlic, and I'm using gluten-free spaghetti, but you can use any type of spaghetti that you want. And that is all you're going to need for this. I'm going to start by adding my 1 pound of ground turkey, my half of a diced onion, and 1 tablespoon of minced garlic into my pan. I'm going to get that all mixed together and just let that cook. I like to add, usually if I'm using the packets of taco seasoning, 1.5 packets for this recipe, but I don't have the packets right now. I have this big container, so I just added in a pretty decent amount. Honestly, I didn't measure it, but if you are using the packets, I would use about 1.5. I did taste it later on to make sure it was enough seasoning, and it was, so it was fine. But anyways, we're going to add our 1 can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, and then I'm adding 3.5 cups of water. You can keep some more water near you, and if you decide that your pasta is going to need some more water, you can just add in a little at a time. I'm going to add my pasta in. I like to try to keep the noodles long, so obviously they're not going to fit at first, but they will eventually shrink down and they will fit in the pot. And you just want to make sure that when they're in the liquid that the water is covering them. Mine were just about covered. I let it go and it was totally fine. The noodles do cook really perfect in here. I just stir it every once in a while to make sure nothing is sticking, and if there are any noodles that are stuck together, I just try to break those apart. Once my pasta was cooked, I just took the lid off and let some of that extra liquid continue to evaporate, and then I melted some cheese on top, and the amount of cheese you want to add is completely up to you. I love cheese, so I add a pretty decent amount on here, but once you get that cheese on, you're just going to replace the lid and just let it melt down. I've also made this with a little added cream cheese before. It makes it even creamier, but this is my finished bowl of food. We like to add on some sour cream to the top, and I just added a little parsley on there as well. This is also really good with added salsa on top, so give that a try. Tell me what you think. Now we're going to get started on this taco pizza. So I have some Mexican style cheese here, 2 pounds of ground turkey. You can use beef or chicken. I also have hot sauce, which you can also replace with salsa, diced tomatoes with green chilies, sour cream, croissant rolls. I could not find pizza dough anywhere, so that's just a substitute. Taco seasoning, cream cheese, lettuce, onion, a little bit of tomato, a jalapeno, and I also have some green onions. To begin cooking my meat, I have my 2 pounds of ground turkey, I have my red onion, jalapeno, taco seasoning, and diced tomatoes. All of that's going to go in here except for the diced tomato and seasoning. That's going to be added just as soon as the meat is cooked. But I'm going to let that get started, let the onions and jalapeno start to cook through. I've got my oven preheating to 375 degrees. I'm going to be using this sheet pan right here, and I am just going to spray it with a little bit of oil. It's not really necessary, but I like to just in case, you never know. So I'm just going to roll out my croissant dough. Like I said, I wanted to use pizza dough, but I could not find it anywhere, so this was my backup plan. You could make your own dough as well, but this was just easier and quicker on a weeknight. So I'm going to get those all pressed together. That way it makes one big sheet. You don't want to have any holes, so make sure you get all of the edges together. This baked for about 10 minutes, and then once it was nice and golden brown, I just took it back out. While that's cooking, I softened up a half block of cream cheese in this bowl, and then I'm going to add a half cup of sour cream into that. I'm going to mix that together, and this is the sauce for the pizza. I'm also going to add in some hot sauce. This is where you can replace the hot sauce with salsa if you want. I just did not have salsa, so I'm using hot sauce, and I'm adding about 1 tablespoon of hot sauce here. Hot sauce actually adds a really good flavor. If you choose to use salsa, I would add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of that in here. Once your pizza crust has come out of the oven, you can go ahead and put this on the top. I let mine cool down for just a second, and then I added it on. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in my taco meat. So I did cook the diced tomatoes and taco seasoning into this, and you can add as much or as little of the taco meat on here as you want to. The more taco meat you do put on, the more filling your pizza will be. Now this is where you can get creative. You can put any toppings on that you want. My husband asked me if I would put some jalapenos on his side for him, so that's what I'm doing here. But you can add any type of toppings that you would like. I am using the lettuce and tomato on my side, and then I'm going to add some green onions over the entire pizza. Here is the pizza after it is done. You can stick it back in the oven after adding your toppings if you would like. I don't like to do that. I just eat it just like this. And this is also another big favorite at our house. Next up, I'm doing this chicken pull-apart taco ring. I saw this at a Halloween party a couple years ago, and I have been wanting to do it, and this was the perfect time to try it out. So I have a couple packs of tortillas here. Whether or not you do 2 or 3 layers will depend on how many packs you need. I have 2 things of shredded cheese here. I only ended up using 1. A can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. I usually get the Rico's nacho cheese, but they substituted me this one, so I just made that work. And then I have some chicken taco seasoning, 1/2 of a diced yellow onion, and then here are my chicken breasts. I had 3 chicken breasts actually total, and I am seasoning the chicken first with chili powder, this Southwest Chipotle, and onion powder. I did cut all of my chicken breasts in half, that way they would cook a little faster, and I just laid those in a little bit of olive oil, and like I said, I added all 3 of those seasonings, the Southwest Chipotle seasoning, and the onion powder and chili powder. I did also cook my onion in here after I pulled the chicken out. And while that was cooking, I went ahead and shredded my chicken. I just used 2 forks, but you can use whatever method makes you happy. I know it might seem weird that I season the chicken and then I'm going to also add taco seasoning to the chicken as well, but trust me, you do not want this chicken to be lacking in flavor. Once my onion was cooked and my chicken was shredded, I put the chicken back in the pan and added in this can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, and I also added in 1.5 packs of this chicken taco seasoning. So I have 2 packs of tortillas here. I decided not to cut all 3 just in case, and I went ahead and just sliced all those in half because you're going to roll them into cone shapes, and I honestly wasn't sure how many I was going to need. So I started with 2 packs just to be safe. I didn't want to waste a 3rd pack. This was plenty of food, let me tell you, plenty of food. So this pizza pan has been used many times. I promise you it is clean, it's just very old. So I have this little tiny bowl I'm going to put in the middle here, and I did spray my pan just to be safe. I didn't want anything to stick. I'm going to start filling up my half tortillas, and I did add a little too much chicken here. You only need a little bit in each one. I also want to mention you can use any type of meat. You don't have to use chicken. You can do beef, turkey, ground chicken, ground pork, anything you want. You could make this so many different ways. So once you get that rolled up, you're just going to stick it underneath of your little center bowl. You can use a bowl, whatever. If you're going to remove it before you cook anyways, so you can really use whatever you want to. You just need something to kind of give you a layout and just help you to create the shape. Once you get your first layer of tacos down, you're going to add your shredded cheese on top of those, and you can add as much cheese as you want to. I also just decided to roll up one more and stick in this little gap. It was just a little too much of a gap here, so I added another one in, added more cheese, and then I'm going to start my second layer. Once you get your next layer done, you're going to add more cheese, and if you want to, you can add a 3rd layer, but there's only 2 of us, and this was a ton of food. So I stopped here, put it in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes. I just watched it towards the end to make sure it wasn't going to burn. And then this is my little bowl that I was using in the middle. I'm just going to add some cheese into it, nacho cheese preferably, and then you can use any toppings you want to use, any sauces. I sat out some sour cream, ranch, sriracha, the cheese of course, and then Diablo sauce. And here is my chicken taco ring when it came out of the oven. I did add a little parsley on top, and I did have to spin my pan about halfway through because the back was getting a little dark. But as you can see, the cheese gets really nice and melted throughout, and the top and bottom layers of my tortillas both got really crispy, so I was pleasantly surprised with that. But this is great for a party or whatever. We had it for dinner, and we had plenty of leftovers for lunch the next day. Last but not least, we are doing these taco rolls. So for these, I use this Mexican bag of cheese. I have 2 pounds of ground beef here. You could really get away with just using a ½ pound to 1 pound of ground beef, but you know I like to make extras for us always. I'm going to add a can of diced tomatoes to my meat. That is optional. I also have my taco seasoning here. I'm going to use 1 can of pizza crust. And then, like I said, the cheese, and then I have sour cream, and the toppings for this, you can do whatever you want. I have out some onion. I'm going to put a little onion in the meat as well, and then some lettuce, Roma tomato. I'm going to get my meat started in a skillet. This is everything I'm adding in there. Like I said, you can use less meat. I am just using more, so we have lunch stuff available here. Okay, so let's get started on this crust. I'm going to get this opened up and spread out, and I'm just going to try to even this thing out, make it more of a rectangular shape. Once my taco meat is done, I'm going to spread this over my crust. You don't want to put too much meat on here. You kind of want a thinner layer. So just be careful with that. If you put too much, it's really going to fall apart a lot. So just be careful with that. And then after that, I'm going to add on my cheese. And I'm just going to put a nice layer over that. You can always add more cheese on top if you want more. Once my cheese is on, I'm going to roll this up, and you're just going to start in the middle and then slowly work your way across and get this completely rolled up into a log. I'm just going to take a sharp knife and start slicing those, and as you can see, there is a really thin spot right here. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to get my dough quite so thin, so just keep that in mind, that if you get it really thin, that your rolls are going to fall apart a little bit. Once they cooked, they were fine, but transferring them over to my pan was a little difficult. I am going to spray my pan a little bit just to make sure these don't stick, because the cheese will melt out of them a little bit. And then I'm just going to transfer all these over onto their sides. And then these went into a 375-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Here are all the toppings we chose to use: sour cream, Roma tomato, lettuce, cheese, and of course, hot sauces. I just served this with some Nor Spanish rice, and then here are my completed taco rolls. These are so easy to make, and also these would be great for little kids. They're not messy at all. After you get them done, they stay together really well. I really enjoy these ones. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. This was really fun to make to change up our taco nights. So I hope you can find some ideas to help spice up your nights at your house.